welcome back to Inspirational Futures. I have Phillip Moore here a second time, which is pretty cool. And I really wanted to touch on how you've done the school, and the book was written in 2017. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Now, what comes next? Because I know there's a lot of been seeds and other things that have come out of the book and the work and the stuff that you've done there.
Yeah, there's something called emergence, which is really an important aspect of the next paradigm. And the future is always pressing in to the present. So what I've learned to do is to read what's happening and where the invitations are coming from and what the invitations are asking. And then, of course, you can't say yes to everything. So how you make the decision of, oh, yeah, this is what I'd like to do, and this is something that I'm not interested in doing, but perhaps giving them an understanding of who might be interested in doing that. So what's emerged since the book came out is, first of all, because I know you're in British Columbia and you're in Victoria, is that part of the world has become very important to me, because that's where I seem to get the best invitations and meet the neatest people. So, and of course, the natural world is so powerful and so strong. And the sense of the First Nations is also so integral in ways that it's not here in the United States. The karma of what we have done, meaning the citizens of the United States over time, and how it's been handled in Canada are really quite different. And even though there's plenty of room for both to grow and learn from, it's more intact in Canada, from my experience, than it is here in the United States. We have a wonderful relationship with the Lakota people in South Dakota, and that's an ongoing relationship that is now entering into its 31st year or so. And so we're learning so much from the elders who have come to teach us here, and we share that knowledge with the kids. But what's come to me after The Future of Children was published is that there are seeds that have been planted in other parts of the world. We created something called Conscious Teachers. And Conscious Teachers was an opportunity not for just people who had educational degrees. We wanted teachers to mean anyone who was curious and learning still is going to be a teacher. And so people came, and it was always a variety of ages and also points of view. There was a great ethnic diversity to the group always. And we would do very deep dives into learning how to bond and learning how to play and learning how to lose this separate individual achiever and join into the web of I am you, you are me, and we are deeply connected into the web of life. We can sometimes cognitively get something, but not have any idea how to physically live it. And I was very excited about, and still am, about experiencing it. My mentor was Buckminster Fuller, and Bucky often talked about direct experience. And that one of the things that we do so poorly in most educational settings is we're mediating whatever it is that we're teaching. And so it's like, and we know all the answers. It's a really poor setup for maintaining curiosity throughout your life, because the kids know I'm asking a question that I know the answer to, right, and there's only one right answer. So we've already set it up to just be a horrible situation. As a matter of fact, anytime I'm with anybody who's in a teaching situation, if they're doing a fill in the blank thing, they're asking a question and they're doing something and they have a specific answer in mind, I see it, I cringe. Right. I see it as being the worst possible way to teach, because somebody's going to raise their hand and then they're going to get called on, and then they're going to say something and they say, no, that's not it. Anybody else? So they just almost, in a sense, depending upon the sensitivity of the individual that they just said no to, they just said, okay, I hope you're ashamed of yourself for offering that answer. And it just breeds silence and a lot of other horrible emotions.
Oh, for sure.
However, when you're working in a situation like we're working in, open-ended questions are what we want to explore, so that any answer that arises is like, wow, I never thought of that. Where did you come up with that? Could you say a
Love
little bit
that.
more about the suction cups on the frog and why you
Yeah.
think learning about that and making a glue out of that would take away all of the pollution from plywood? You know, whatever it was, it would just be like one of those things where you get to say wow at every answer that's been
Yes.
given, and it creates a completely different environment. So I'm doing things like the Hollyhock experience called The Future of Children. And it really has to do with play. It's teaching adults how to play. And when there are kids there, as there were last year, and there will be next year, the kids become the teachers. So I'm flipping it. You know, I'm creating a context, as you so beautifully pointed out, where there's a tremendous amount of trust and there's a tremendous amount of love. And because that trust and love is a part of the bonding experience, you really begin to explore through play what kind of initiatives do you need to take on. And sometimes you do grief work. We definitely did grief work because one of the young teachers is 15 years old. She's just been in high school for 1 full year. She's now in her 2nd full year there. And she brought up something in her teaching with her friend. And it was a song that she wrote. And the song was just this lament, of how horribly screwed up things are in the world, and so we opened up some grief work because she was just, the song was a beautiful poetic, um, uh, actually a sequel to a song from leaving Upland Hill School and joining another school, and then realizing, as she said in her teaching, we, meaning the kids in my generation, were afraid to look up. And that was just such a powerful thing to hear. We're afraid to look up. Why? Because you know all the answers. You're telling us to do all these things. You've got your agenda for us. We've got these little screens. We're caught in our own world of escaping from you. And so what Jacinta said was that there was this beautiful cardinal that had landed on a tree outside one of the only classrooms in her school that has nice windows that you could look out of. And it was singing this beautiful song. And she looked around the room and no one had paid any attention to what was going on. And she thought, I'll bet you if I just even waved my hand above my head, nobody would notice that I was waving my hand. We're all looking down. So what's happening for me is I'm consulting with people who want to start initiatives. I'm very excited about that. There's one going on in Victoria, the Exploration Center. There's more than one in the Victoria area. And there's also one in Southern California called the Love-Based School. The Love Source School, I think is what it's called. And I know that that's going to open. And so I'm very excited about that. So I'm doing those kind of consultings. And I'm doing multi-generational play shops. We could call them workshops, but I don't want to call them workshops because we're first learning how to bond, form friendships, and then play. And then from there, opening up imaginations, going to kind of the infinite potential, and then taking on initiatives.
Oh, that sounds great. I am so inspired, and I'll definitely make sure that we check out some of those things you mentioned.